XperienceHR is an enterprise-grade, end-to-end workforce management and time and attendance platform trusted by organizations including Pfizer, Dell, Zurich Insurance Group, P&G and Siemens. Built over 15 years of in-house development, XPHR captures, evaluates, and transforms employee time data into compliant, payroll-ready outputs, eliminating manual effort and reducing the risk of payroll errors at every step. The platform integrates seamlessly across the enterprise ecosystem, connecting with your payroll system, HR platform, and the full range of clocking devices through XPHub, XPHR's native integration layer. The result is a single, reliable flow of workforce data from time capture all the way to payroll processing, no matter how complex your multi-country, multi-site setup. Designed for the real-world challenges that payroll managers, HR leaders, and CTOs deal with daily, XPHR supports multiple languages, country-specific labor law configurations, flexible time tracking methods, web, mobile, time clock, AI-powered shift scheduling, and enterprise-grade security with EU data residency. Whether you're managing factory floor shift workers, distributed white-collar teams, or a mix of both, XPHR gives you the visibility, control, and compliance confidence your organization needs. Find out more at XperienceHR.com.
Hi everybody and welcome back to Global PayFest 26. I'm Natalie Lloyd from JGA Recruitment and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Stanislava and Miguel from XperienceHR. Hi Stanislava, hi Miguel, welcome.
Hi Natalie.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about the reality of multi-country time and attendance. Stanislava, Miguel, I wondered if you could just give us a quick intro to yourselves and what our viewers can expect from today's session, please.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Stanislava Susla. As a short introduction, I'm a CEO at XperienceHR. We provide a global TNA and workforce management solution built for enterprise and payroll. And I mean that precisely. Our job is to take the messy reality of how people actually work across multiple labor laws, country-specific rules, collective agreements, and complex shift patterns, and turn it into time data that's payroll ready, accurate, and auditable in every country we operate. Built over 15 years of in-house development, our technology runs in organizations like Pfizer, Dell, Zurich Insurance Group, Procter & Gamble, and Siemens, across factory floors, distributed teams, and multi-country operations. We've stayed deliberately focused on the hardest part of workforce management system, so to say, the messy middle between time capture and payroll, where the real compliance risk and operational cost live.
Yeah, thank you, Stanislava. That's a very good high-level description. My name is Miguel Sanchez. I'm the head of product at XperienceHR. I have 20 years experience in tech, and my job at Experience is to make sure that the product solves real-world problems that payroll managers, HR leaders, and CTOs deal with it every day. I work closely with enterprise customers and payroll partners because their complexity sets the bar for us. The multi-country labor law, the dozens of clocking devices, integrations with whatever payroll and HR systems they already have. We are not chasing trends purposely. We are building a platform that holds the line on data accuracy and compliance end to end. That's what I do for Experience.
Amazing. It's so good to have you both here as well. Thank you so much. What is it about multi-country TNA that you guys specifically wanted to bring to our audience today in Global PayFest?
It's a good question. Thank you so much. And also thank you, Natalie, for this space. So yeah, Miguel, thank you for sharing this slide where we wanted to present, also visualize our solution. And we like to say that it's a conversation that nobody wants to have until something breaks. Because payroll team in global organizations, payroll teams, I mean, the people are quietly heroic. And that I completely admire on one hand. On another hand, their job is stitching together time data from dozens of countries, each with different labor laws, different collective agreements, and different overtime rules, or many times it is the case. Most of them still do it with spreadsheets, country-specific local tools, and human judgment. And that works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, the cost isn't just late paycheck. It's compliance exposure and millions in remediation. This even brings together the global payroll community. This event, okay, got check one more time. This event brings together a global payroll community. So we wanted to use this opportunity to make a clear statement. There is a way to do multi-country TNA in one system. It's not theoretical. We do it every day.
Amazing. And Miguel, when you say multi-country TNA at scale, like what does that actually mean at a product level?
It means three things concretely. The first one is that one platform that simultaneously runs every country's rule set, labor laws, working time regulations, public holidays, overtime, collective agreements, all of that without forking the product per country. There's one platform, all markets and all regulations. The second is a system that handles real operational complexity, as Stanislava mentioned. Every market has different rotating shift patterns, overtime calculations, multiple wage types, night and weekend premiums, on-call windows, split shifts, hybrid teams. All of that captures whichever input workforce uses. Mobile web, physical time clocks, biometric. And the third pillar, that is the most platform underestimates, is the output has to be payroll ready in every country with full audit trail. So every clocking event, every rule application, every manager adjustments, all of them needs to be logged, time-stamped, and traceable. A payroll manager in Madrid, Stockholm, or Munich can all trust the data in the same way, and an auditor can reconstruct any minute of any employee record on demand. That's what it means at scale.
So I think something that is really important to consider here is the cost. Like, what is the actual cost that organizations are paying to not have this solved?
Mm-hmm. Well, usually the cost is far more than they think. And there are three buckets. The first is direct payroll error, like overtime, incorrect overtime calculations, wrong holiday accruals, or missed allowances. Industry studies put payroll error rates at 1 to 8% of total payroll spent, depending on complexity. For an enterprise with thousands of employees across multiple countries, that's 7 figures easily. The second is compliance exposure. Labor authority audits in markets like Poland, Germany, and France are not theoretical, and the fines are real. The third, and this one is a silent killer, is a people cost. Senior payroll and HR leaders spending their week chasing time data across systems instead of doing strategic work. That's burnout, attrition, and leadership team that can't see what's really happening in their workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, why is that so hard to get right technically? Like, surely there could just be some sort of generic system that can do that, right?
I will take that one. Because
Yeah.
the labor law is not a configuration option. It's always a moving target. It changes constantly, right? And it doesn't sit alone. Take Poland alone. The Codex Pracy, the Polish labor code, it defines several distinct working time systems, each with its own logic for calculating overtime, rest, premiums. On top of that, you have collective labor agreements negotiated with unions, sector by sector, that extend or override the code. So, and then settlement periods that can run up to 12 months. Overtime is in a daily calculation, it's a running balance, no, against a reference period. And then super complex shift patterns, right? Rotating crews, 24/7 operations, network between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. with a separate premiums. Saturday, Sunday, holidays rules, local duties is a nightmare. So generic systems try to handle this with 1,000 of toggles, and it quickly becomes unmaintainable. So what we have built over the last 15 years, a rules engine, purposely built for this, and with country-specific labor law package that we maintain together with third parties, and plus this flexibility for customers to overlay their own collective agreements and ship patterns rules on top. So the idea here, or the goal here, is that the customer doesn't carry the regulatory changes alone. We do it.
Okay, so it definitely seems like something simple, and the more you've kind of explained that, it sounds like it's absolutely anything but simple.
Yeah.
So how, at XperienceHR, how do you guys kind of handle those calculations across like multiple different markets?
I will ask Miguel to answer that one as well.
Sure. So overtime is the best illustration of why the multi-country TNA is so hard. So in Poland, again, let's say that example, under the Codex Praxi, overtime is a 50% premium for the first 2 hours over the daily standard. 100% for night work, Sundays and public holidays, but only in the basic working time system. Again, super complex working time systems. We switched to a different working time system, and overtime is calculated against a settlement period of up to 12 months, not against the day. So it's completely different approach. Take Germany now. The Germany labor code caps daily hours, and many collective agreements override that with sector-specific triggers. Each country has different rules. France has a 35-hour reference with detailed overtime tiers. Spain runs its own framework. So different rules per market, different percentages, different trigger windows. Our rule engines handle all of this in parallel. So a customer running Poland, Germany, France, and Spain doesn't configure overtime 4 times. They configure their employees' contracts per country, and the engine applies the correct overtime logic per country, per collective agreements automatically. We call it internally compliance as a service. So that's the engine that helps this complexity for overtime.
For sure. And I imagine these sorts of things are built through like understanding and listening to people in the industry who are having these kind of challenges time and time again, and getting things wrong and learning from those mistakes. So what are some of those like common mistakes that you see people making when they're trying to standardize a multi-country TNA?
So talking about mistakes, the biggest one is buying a global HR suite and assuming that TNA comes with it. It does, but also it doesn't, at least not at the depth real operations need. So companies end up with a global HR system for employee records and a patchwork of local TNA tools underneath. Many of our clients actually use, for instance, and it's a setup that works for us. A client would use Workday, then for HRS, then they would use a global payroll provider to run their payroll, and then they would still use XperienceHR. So that is where we know for sure, as answered from our clients, that the need for a proper proposed complex TNA system is really there in the market. And the second mistake is trying to build it themselves. We've seen multi-year, multi-million international projects that never reach product because the regulatory complexity outpaces the build.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I know you guys. Sorry, Miguel.
Sorry, Natalia. I will try to add a third one there, if that's okay. Most of the cases, underestimating the integration layer, right? Companies focus on the TNA engine and forget that the data has to flow in from dozens of clocking devices and out to multiple payroll systems. So one thing is to have the TNA, but you need to integrate with other things. So you forget the integration capability. So multiple payroll system can have a different provider per country, right? So if the integration layer isn't enterprise grade, then the whole thing collapses. That's why exactly we have built a integration platform experience called XPHub.
Interesting. What is XPHub? Tell me about it.
And, all right. So XPHub is XperienceHR native integration platform. It's a connective tissue between the time capture, the workforce management engine, and the HR platform of record and the payroll system. So 3 sides, all equal. On the input side, every clocking device can be physical time clocks from any major manufacturer, mobile app, web apps, and biometrics. On the upstream side, every HR system, Workday, SuccessFactors, SAP, Oracle, you name it, custom. And then those are feeding the employee master data, the contracts, the organizational structure into the rules engine of experience. And then downstream is every payroll system, global or country-specific local providers, receiving the payroll-ready output that experience system provides. The reason this matter is very simple, is the integration is where the multi-country TNA project usually die. You can have a world-class system on one side, but the wrong integration in the middle, and then the system collapses. With XPHub, customers don't build or maintain those connections themselves anymore. Whatever HR system, whatever clocking device, whatever payroll provider, we can connect them, and we do it really quick. It is not a roadmap promise, it's already live in production today. So that's a great value add we bring with XPHub.
Amazing. And obviously we're here on Poland session today, and I know that you guys have made quite a good point about making Poland the benchmark here. So why is that?
Because Poland is where the complexity meets scale, and that combination is the real test of any global TNA platform. The Polish labor code is one of the most prescriptive in the EU. Multiple parallel working time systems, settlement periods that can run up to 12 months, overtime rules that depend on the system, the day, the time, and whether it's public holiday, etc. Layer onto that a strong union presence with industry-level collective labor agreements that are renegotiated regularly. Statutory time tracking records with very specific format and retention requirements, and an active inspection regime. Now combine that regulatory density with the fact that Poland has been the manufacturing and shared services hub for global enterprises in Europe for the last 15 years. It's where their largest single country European headcount sits. So when we say Poland is the benchmark, we mean it in 2 ways at once. Is the toughest technical exam and is the place where the workforce risk is largest. A platform that holds up in Poland holds up anywhere. For us, for instance, one of the examples, one of the manufacturing clients that we have in Poland, or our platform is handling more than 2,500 employees on daily basis.
So can you give me a bit of an example of some of that complexity that Poland can throw at a TNA system?
Sure. You take up the Polish manufacturing that we were talking about. They're running multi-shift operations under a collective labor agreement with the sector union. On top of the labor code, the agreement specifies different overtime rates depending on the day of the week, time of the day, and whether it's a public holiday. Night work between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. carries a separate premium. Sunday, a public holiday, works its own rules. Yeah? Then the working time system itself. Many of these customers operate in a row of Nazi, it's called, an equivalent working time, so where daily hours can vary up to 12 hours, but have to balance over settlement period of 3, 4, even 12 months. So the overtime calculation isn't a single day calculation, it's a running balance against a reference period that the system has to track continuously. And add rotating shift patterns, on-call windows, weekly rest compliance, and shift swaps that they need to reevaluate against each individual's contract, all in real time, all auditable. So every minute captured at the time clock or via mobile, evaluated against the rules, log with the rule version apply, and turn into payroll-ready output by the cutoff. That's not a special configuration for one customer, that's a standard capability of the platform.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So if you have, different employees working different shifts, they're not always starting at the same time, finishing at the same time, they're doing overtime. Maybe they're not working the same days every single week as well.
Yeah.
I can imagine that can be an absolute nightmare to track. And on top of that, you've got all of the regional complexities as well. So in theory, if this works in Poland, can it work anywhere?
We like to say that. So, and we say it because when a global customer asks us, can you handle our Brazilian or Mexican or Singapore operations, which we are have onboarded also just recently, Singapore, a large factory? The answer is yes, because the engineering challenge of those markets is a subject of what we already solve in Poland every day. Poland isn't the only market we serve, but is the one that tells you we can serve any of them. And practically, for a global enterprise, Poland is often where the operational heart of their European business sits. So passing the Polish test isn't just a technical statement, it's also a commercial one.
I think that's really cool. And it's really interesting that the way you guys are doing things. And I wondered if you can just give me a quick walkthrough from end to end of how your approach works and what the data flow looks like, and what people can kind of expect.
Sure. Let's start at the edge. An employee clocks in. Then can be a physical clock on a factory floor, or a mobile app for a field worker, a web app check-in for a white-collar employee, or a biometric. So experience is agnostic to the clocking. That clocking event lands in Experience via XPHub. The platform evaluates it against country, role, contract, and collective agreement rules, applying overtime, premiums, allowances, deductions, whatever applies. The output of that is a clean, compliant, payroll-ready data set. Then XPHub then pushes it into the customer's payroll system, whichever one, in whichever country. And in parallel, the employee master data flows from the HR platform of the customer, so rules are always evaluated against current contract terms. The whole flow is auditable, traceable, and covered by enterprise-grade security. And for European countries, we ensure the GDPR is part of that compliance security.
And I think it's important to ask about AI here, because nowadays, every system is building AI into the way that they work. So, how does that work with XperienceHR and TNA?
We are deliberate about where to use AI. We only use it where it solves a real operational problem. So the clearest one today is shift scheduling, building a compliant shift schedule across multiple countries, factoring in employee preferences, skills, labor law constraints, and cost. Is a problem that traditional algorithms struggle with traditional business rules. AI handles it very well, as you can imagine. So we also use it for anomaly detection, so flagging unusual patterns in time data that often indicate process problem or occasional fraud. So what we deliberately don't do is use AI for compliance decisions and for the actual rules engine. That is a very much deterministic approach that needs to stay that way. Compliance has to be rule-based, deterministic, and auditable. AI helps the human. It doesn't replace the rules engine.
Amazing. Because, things compliance, accuracy, auditability, at scale, like with enterprise customers, they aren't separate conversations, are they? So, like, how would you handle them?
Um, you're absolutely right. They're inseparable. Yeah, and both sit at the heart of what we do. Compliance starts with the rules engine, country-specific labor law, collective agreements, working time regulations, and accuracy comes from the integration layer that our native integration platform eliminates the manual handoff and the reconciliation that introduces error. And auditability sits across both. Every clocking event, every rule application, every manager adjustment is logged, timestamped, attributed to a user or rule version. I will start with auditability. And auditability sits across both. Every clocking event, every rule application, every manager adjustment is logged, timestamped, attributable to a user or rule version, and reproducible. When a labor authority audits a specific employee on a specific date, we can show them exactly which rules were applied, why, and by whom. On top of that, we run enterprise-grade security, GDPR compliance by design, EU data residency for European customers, role-based access at fine grain, encryption at rest, and in transit. This is the standard customers like Pfizer, Zurich, and Siemens demand. And it's verified through their own due diligence and audits. Compliance, accuracy, auditability, security, we treat all four as the floor, not the ceiling.
So, can you kind of explain a real life situation? So, like maybe like a customer story where you've done this at scale in actual practice.
Yeah, sure. So I'll give you the shape of one. A global manufacturer, 12 countries, mix of factory shift workers running rotating 24/7 patterns with night premiums and white collar staff on flex schedules, multiple payroll providers, multiple union agreements, hundreds of clocking devices in the field, plus a global Workday HR deployment. Before XPHR, that's our abbreviation, before XperienceHR, they ran 11 different TNA tools and spent 2 weeks every month reconciliating data into payroll-ready format. And now it's all automatized with us.
Yeah,
It feels like it's taken a lot of that chaos.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And we use the XPHub platform, as I mentioned before. So after that, they consolidated everything to one platform. The time capture flows in from the existing devices. They didn't rip and replace the hardware. We just connected to it. The employee master data flows from Workday. The rules engines handles each country, each agreement, each shift pattern. And then we produce payroll-ready output that flows to each local payroll provider. The 2-week reconciliation cycle is gone. The audit position is materially stronger. Every minute is traceable now, and the payroll team now spends its time on analysis, not on data wrangling. So that's the value we added there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of putting it out there that this is saving actual real money and saving actual real time for, payroll leaders, especially where they're running multi-country operations and maybe have like lots of different hubs around the world. Like I said before, with lots of different people working lots of different patterns, it seems like that could easily become chaotic without having the right tools in place. So we've mentioned overtime being like quite a big piece of how TNA is like really, really important. But what about things like different wage types, like premiums, allowances, different deductions? each of those have its own calculation, its own tax treatments, I think. So how would you guys map that?
So yes, this is where the most generic systems fall short. Every country has its own catalog of wage types, distinct payroll elements with their own legal and tax classifications, right? In Poland alone, you'll have separate wage types for night premium, Sunday premium, public holiday premium, on-call and standby, function allowance, seniority allowance, hazard allowance, you name it, and all for difficult, working conditions as well. And it's not only per country. Each customer's collective agreement and employment contracts can introduce custom wage type unique to their organization. Our rules engine produces output already mapped to those customer-specific wage type catalogs in their payroll systems. We integrate the wage types catalog, so the outputs are already mapped to that. Night hours arrive coded to the night premium wage type, on-call hours to their on-call code, and so on. The customer doesn't translate twice. Experience delivers payroll-ready data, already structured to their payroll engine. That's how we solve it.
Okay. And I guess we've heard how this would happen for a factory environment and factory workers, but what about different kind of environments? So workplaces where there's hybrid teams and knowledge workers, does this still work? Does this still apply?
Absolutely, and increasingly so. The post-pandemic world is hybrid by default. We all know that. A single employee might work from home, from an office in a different country, on a project that requires time tracking for client billing. That's a multi-country TNA problem in different clouds. But the same core challenge: capture time accurately, evaluate against the rules, deliver payroll-ready output. We support web and mobile time tracking, project codes, and the same rules engine. Whether you're tracking a factory operator or a consultant, the platform handles it.
Amazing. And I think these sort of things are really, really important, especially in those kind of enterprise level organizations. I'm quite interested to know where you, and this can be a personal viewpoint, but where do you see enterprise workforce management heading in the next sort of 3 to 5 years?
Three to 5 years. That's very objective. But we will see how it is with AI today, because the world will be moving so much faster. Yeah. For now, what we see is the three directions. First is consolidation, that companies are tired of so-called patchworks and will move towards platforms that genuinely cover multi-country end-to-end TNA. Second is intelligence. AI moving from buzzword to operational reality, especially in scheduling and forecasting, where it actually saves managers' times. And third is employee expectation. The workforce expects to be paid correctly, transparent, and on time. That puts pressure on payroll and on the workforce management system to be flameless. And the platforms that deliver will win. And we're building for all three.
I always get so interested by people who actually build these kinds of products and where you get your ideas from and what excites you. So I guess, Miguel, this is one for you. What actually really excites you on the roadmap of what's to come?
For sure, that there are two areas for me, and the first one is a deeper AI in the platform, scheduling and forecasting, as discussed before, moving from AI suggests a roster to AI explains why this roster is optimal under your constraints and what trade-offs you're making. So it's a jump in intelligence, right, in the platform and also for the customer. That changes the conversations a manager can have with their team. The second one is XPHub. Obviously, that's our flagship product now. the integration platform. We expand in the connector library and self-service integration tooling, so customers can stand up new integrations even faster. The faster integration is solved, the faster the value lands. Those are the two main work streams that I'm looking into the roadmap, and I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I can actually see that as you're talking as well. Like, I love talking to product people about products because you can actually like really see a little
yeah, I light up.
Cool. So there are going to be loads of people watching this today who are from an organization where, you know, they've got people, different people in different places doing different things, working different shifts. I don't think it's a secret that sometimes things can feel a little bit all over the place. So from this session, what would be sort of the key things that you want people to kind of walk away with? You're on mute.
That a truly global TNA and workforce management solution exists, and it can handle the full real-world complexity in one system. You don't have to live with the patchwork.
For sure. And then, like, what's one piece of advice that you would give people who are finding themselves in that kind of tricky situation?
Natalie, I would like to add something to the previous question.
Sure.
Missed one.
Yeah. So one takeaway from me and from the product perspective is that integration is not a side problem anymore. It's the problem. Solve the integration layer between your clocking system, your HR systems, and your payroll providers, and the rest of the multi-country TNA becomes tractable, becomes real. That's what XPHub does, and that is the reason customers like the ones I mentioned before trust us with the entirety of the workforce data.
Absolutely. And then what's one piece of advice that you would give to people who are finding themselves in this kind of situation?
That don't accept the patchwork is inevitable. It is solvable. Talk to peers, look at platforms that have actually done it at scale, and ask for proof, not just slides, but a working configuration in your hardest market. If a vendor can run a demo on your Polish operation with the right working time system, the right collective labor laws, etc., with the right evidence, you've found a serious partner.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and start with the integration question, not the feature list. Again, I'm going back to XPHub. The platform that wins for you is the one that can connect with you and what the system that you already have, time clocks, payroll providers, HR systems, without a multi-year project. You ask about the integration layer first, and it will tell you whether the rest is real or not. With XPHub, we have reduced integration times by 4 times minimum. So from months into sometimes weeks.
I think it's a really nice thing what you touched on there. It's just like don't just settle. Don't just think like it's a bit patchworky, but it will do for now. Because like earlier on in the conversation, you mentioned sometimes these kind of things taking payroll teams 2 entire weeks. And for me, I'm kind of sitting here thinking, imagine if I just like two entire weeks of my month were freed up every single month. Like this would be outrageous. I would get so much more done. So it really, really does make sense that if your TNA isn't working super smoothly at the moment, that it's something to consider, it's something to look a little bit more into and potentially get a platform that can support with that. So, I mean, I'm not supposed to be doing a whole sales pitch here, but if people wanted to find out more about XperienceHR, like where can they go? Who can they call? Can they call you up?
No, absolutely. And thank you for this question. Of course, we do have a website, experiencehr.com, very naturally, but we're also, both me and Miguel are very accessible on LinkedIn. we love these conversations. We love to engage with people. We love to provide all the answers that we can or help whenever we can. So please feel free to reach out.
Exactly. Reach out.
Yeah, so I think the first time I ever saw Stanislava is like out and about at events. And actually, like the reason why I ever first wanted to get in touch is because like you just seemed to have so many questions coming at you from people all the time. So like the proof is right there that like
True.
people do need help with this. Like people need that support. Um, so I've got a couple of questions myself that I feel like are the kind of things that people are going to want to know a little bit more about. And probably one of those touches on your last point, Miguel, on that integration piece. Um, I think as soon as you say like integrating with another system, people get a bit nervy. They're like, oh, I don't want to have loads of things plugging into my HR system. Like, I'll just go with one. And if it's not perfect, then that's okay. Is that a myth? Like, what are some of those kind of misconceptions that people have about integration?
Thank you for that. That's a great question, and it's something that I came across many times. So the myth is that the integration is solved by an API. It isn't. APIs are the easy part. They are the plumbing. They are the technical way to connect to systems. But the hard part is the semantic mapping, making sure that an overtime hour in your system maps to the right wage type in your payroll system, with the right premium percentage, the right tax treatment, the right country, and collecting agreement context. That's not an API problem. It's a rules problem. Most integration projects fail because they get the plumbing right, which is a technically complex but relatively easy to do, but the semantics wrong. And the rest is data that flows, but it doesn't reconcile. So XPHub handles this, both cases, connectivity and semantic translation, country by country, and wage type by wage type. That's the myth. That's how we solve it.
Amazing. But some systems, like some sort of global HR suites, will have a TNA module, if you will, already built in. Like, how would having a separate platform like Experience HR that then feeds into your HR system, like, how is that different to just going out and buying one of those that kind of has everything already included?
Well, in very simple words, and I believe also you are heading with your question to if we're competing with other companies, right? So we always present this to the partners and to the clients that we do not compete. We are complementing the system, right? And whenever it makes easier for HR. I will not say the names, but we know that large companies, also payroll providers, sometimes they have a payroll, a TNA module, but it is always very simplified. Yeah. So whenever there is a need for a complex, a robust solution, our partners are inviting us to go to tender with them, for example. Yeah. To go give a joint solution, because then they also have a better competitive advantage. When you can present that, okay, on one hand we have a simple module, but at the same time we have a partner that has a robust solution, and then a client can choose. So that is very much okay with us. I very much support also when companies go into developing their own TNA module. At the same time, if it is sufficient for a client, good. But most of times we meet with no.
Absolutely. I love that. I love to hear like we don't completely complement. Like that's such a nice way of putting it. And I guess it speaks back to Miguel, the way you were talking about the integrations and making sure that everything's really seamless. And at the end of the day, a lot of this is about employee experience as well. It's not just making it easier for the payroll teams, it's making it easier for employees as well, right? So I guess we talked about cost, we talked about time. For payroll leaders, for people watching this, those two things are like the absolute most important things when you're looking to consider making changes in your payroll function. So if somebody wanted to bring in a separate system like this, like what are implementation times like for like a big multi-country rollout?
Well, it's faster than most customers expect because the heavy lifting is already done by us. The country-specific rule packages are pre-built. Obviously, there are nuances and requirements per customer, and that's we need to take one by one. But from a standard point of view, the country-specific rules packages we have, the most clock-in device connectors and payroll integrations are done through XPHub. Obviously, there will be an integration connection between those systems. So a typical multi-country rollout for an enterprise customer is measured in weeks more than months. We went from 9 months integration before XPHub to 8 to 12 weeks.
Wow.
With XPHub. So obviously it depends on how much customization and how much adaptation the customer needs from our system. That needs to be evaluated. But yeah, the variable that drives the timeline is really XPHub or experience. It's how mature the customer data is on the HR side, and how clear their collective agreements interpretation is, and how much custom development and custom system they need. We accelerate both with experienced implementation partners as well, but yeah, it depends a lot on the customer.
And if I can add here as well, Miguel, I believe we did not mention during the whole presentation that one of our biggest advantages is that we are very, very highly configurable, because the system, as we mentioned, was built for 15 years. So there's a lot of configuration already ready in the system. And also we are very flexible. So we are offering customizations to our clients where we know that that is something very unique in the market. So wouldn't say we can customize for you only a module here or a module there, but we truly are ready to answer to the challenge, to requests of clients' customizations.
So can I ask a question about the customization? Because and like obviously we see this happening in recruitment, is where a employee or a candidate or whatever is already working for an organization, and then they like relocate somewhere else, like they move to a whole nother country. Like, how does that work? Does that work?
I can take this one. It works cleanly because we model it from the start. An employee record in Experience platform has a country and a contract context that can change over time. And the rules engines evaluate time data against the contract that was in force at the moment the time was worked. So if an employee transfer from Spain to Poland mid-month, the time worked in Spain is evaluated under Spanish rules and in Spanish collective agreements, and the time worked in Poland under the Codex Praxi and the relevant labor codes and collective agreements of Poland. The output goes to the right payroll provider for each if they have two different ones, and the audit trails capture the transfer event explicitly. It sounds very obvious, but it's a place of a lot of generic system. It's a place where a lot of generic system falls down, and they assume that one employee equals one country, but we don't.
Yeah, and you say it sounds obvious, but like as you've been speaking about, like being able to do this on a multi-country level, and it kind of sparked for me when you were speaking about the different times, the different jobs, the different days, the different this and that, and I was like, okay, but what about if somebody just moves, like
yeah, and it's a common use case, right? It's not something that it doesn't happen. So we built in that in the rules engine.
Yeah, and like you've made it sound so so simple to just use the right system to make that happen. Thank you so much. So We're really close to the end of the session, but I really want to ask. So I've spent a whole hour asking you guys questions. But is there a question that you would ask viewers that are finding themselves in a situation where their TNA is a little bit chaotic? What can they ask themselves to kind of consider whether it is time for something new or whether they can continue as they are?
Well, maybe Miguel will have a different question. I tend to be a practical person. So at the end of the day, everything comes down to numbers. Everything comes down to how can we measure, either in personal life, when it comes to our health or sports, the same, and at work, it's a business, right? So we need to be looking at numbers. And the real question is, what I meet with is people don't really, or people tend to think that this has worked for us for 20 years, so why would we make any change? Yeah, so the question I would ask is, have you actually made a return on investment calculation? Or do many times people or companies don't really know how much they really spend on payroll, on keeping a big team of payroll people, which is as a admirable work. But at the same time, just I would suggest do your calculation.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a hidden expense there, doesn't it? Like if you don't know that it's there and you don't know that how much you're spending, have you got a problem that's unsolved?
Yeah, I have it. I have it also in reverse. Have you done the ROI calculation of not having a system that connects everything together? So it's both, right? From a more product side of things, I would go with twofold. Example, pick your hardest market. If a labor authority audited next week, pull in the time records, overtime calculations, collective agreements, compliance, would you bet on your data? Would you be sure that your data is compliant and ready for the audit? That's one thing, the compliance. And the other one is, how many days every month does your payroll team spend reconciling time data instead of analyzing it? And what would your business do with that time back?
There were a few questions. Would you bet on your data? I bet, like, as soon as you said that, people were like,
Exactly.
That's a brilliant one. So look, guys, thank you so much. You have been amazing, like really interesting. It's one of those topics that I've definitely not considered as much as well. And it's why we really wanted to have it in the lineup today, so that people have that opportunity to think, like, are we tracking this properly? Do we really know? Would we bet on our data? So thank you both so much for joining. To our viewers, thank you all for tuning in. Please do stay for the rest of the sessions. As you know, the rest of them and this one will be on demand after the session as well. So you can keep going back in, dipping into topics that are really key for your organization right now. So Stanislava, Miguel, thank you again so much for joining us. And I'll see you both soon.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you for the space
Thank
and
you.
all the best. Thank you.
See you soon.